I've got a lot to say, can't hold it in this time. Got no filter, I got no filter. 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 No filter, I got no filter.
Sure, one way to make sure I start the show with a smile on my face is watching me face plant on takeoff. Welcome. Welcome to Paramotor Hangout on Tuesday nights. I'm one of your hosts, Never Trust a Skinny Chef Shane. And on the panel today, we have Will, as usual. Will, how you doing, sir?
Doing awesome, man. It's going to be a good show. Looking forward to it.
Mr. Mark McElroy, how we doing, sir?
Doing real good. Glad to be here.
And our special guest, we have Dave Ruff from the USPPA investigator, whatever you want. What do you call it, Dave? What do you call it? Is he kidding you now? No, he's not.
Oh, I'm just kidding.
Oh, awesome, man. I'm so glad we got that on tape. On video.
Hey, I'm looking at his thing going, he's not on mute. Maybe it's...
The best. It was either picking my nose or doing that. I mean,
That's perfect. Absolutely perfect.
How you guys doing?
We're doing fantastic. I'm a little warm right now. It's hot here in Florida, and I'm fighting not turning my AC on. I just love my $100 light bill and rather not have a $300 light bill.
Oh man, I'll trade it. I average $450, $500.
Good Lord.
Oh, part of the farm thing, man.
Yeah, right. So, Dave, what is it that you do for the USPPA? I always want to say USAPPA.
USAPPA. Basically, I'm one of, I think, three. There might be more of us, but last I knew there were three, including myself. And it's a volunteer position. We volunteered for it. And basically what we do, the USPPA has a self-reporting section that you can report incidents, accidents, things like that. And we can do it as well. A lot of times what our function is somebody will self-report something, and we'll try to approach that person and ask questions and really dive into it a little more thoroughly and see if we can see anything that maybe was missed, et cetera, et cetera. And it's all for education. Because, let's face it, we learn by winning and we learn by losing. So what our function really is to just kind of dive in, dissect everything, and then say, okay, hey, this is what happened. What can we learn about it? It's always, this is what happened, and what can we take away? What can we learn? And hope to pass that knowledge on to other people. And yeah.
So if there is an incident, are we required by law to make a report, or is it self-policing, if you will?
You are not required by law to do it. However, there are rules within the USPPA and also the ASC when you start becoming instructor tandem exempt that you are required at that point, but only if you hold those certificates.
Okay. Any questions before we get going from the panel?
No, I was just pulling up the page here where you can submit an incident, what Dave was talking about.
Now,
this is anonymous too, is that right?
Yes, yeah, it is. It is anonymous. We don't track it. We don't, nothing like that. Mainly, if we're going to approach somebody, it's because they've put a name there or contact or something like that. For instance, probably 3 or 4 months ago, there was an incident, and the details were kind of unclear, and unfortunately it was a fatality. So we reached out to the witnesses and actually got more information on it. But yeah, other than that, it's anonymous.
Okay, real quick, Mark, you're going to be reading the questions in the chat. If you get one, if you can either A, put it on the screen, or if you want to ask it yourself, jump in at any time, please, sir.
Okay.
It doesn't matter if Will's talking. As long as you don't interrupt me, you're fine.
Wow, that kind of show, cool.
Okay, so we have some examples tonight, Dave, of some of the stuff that we have investigated before. And by we, I mean you.
You know, I'm sure you've dug in and probably have found some of my incidents in my 7 years of flying. And I honestly, I think that's a great place to start. Um, Back in those days, I was learning. I'm still learning. We always learn in this sport. But yeah, we can dissect a couple things that I did wrong that actually resulted. Well, I'll let you play them. We'll see what happened.
All right, perfect. Will, are we ready to do that?
We're going to be ready in about 1 minute
Okay.
for that.
Okay, so Dave, you've been flying for 7 years. Have you had any major what others would say is a major incident in your flying career?
It depends on the severity of major. I have flipped 3 trikes. I got into a thermal that about ate me. I'm also a free flight pilot. I'm a P3. So I didn't go up unknowing. Just that type of stuff. Very early in my career, when I started doing the trike, it was always and we're going to talk a lot about this because it happens within foot launch too, of the whole, power up, wing up, go, we're out of here. And a lot of times that results in bad things. And in 2 of the instances that I think that you have, or at least one, I know, it resulted in something bad. And that one, it resulted me in hitting the top of some corn, flipping upside down, falling 5 or 6 feet, and landing on my cage, resulting in a broken prop, broken landing gear. No injury. I was a little sore. But it's just that whole mindset of, this power, get out of here. And I'll tell you, it's almost 7 years to the day. In these fly-ins that I go to, we see a lot of it. Oh, actually, okay, this one's actually a hung up line. So before you start it, what's going to happen is I'm going to end up pulling my wing up, and I'm going to take off. And you're going to see me come up. You're going to see my nose go to the left. I'm going to barely clear some hangers, fly over a flagpole, and then at that point, I had no real right-hand control. It was just pulling me left, no power lines. So doing the right thing, I pulled a lot of right brake, got control of it, and climbed, gained altitude, getting away from all the hazards on the left, and ended up sorting it out. And if you play it long enough, you'll actually see that thing was wrapped 3 or 4 times. So when that wing comes up and I start pulling brake, I lock my left hard.
What happened, Will?
Sorry. Okay, so on that one, got it here.
This one was so easy to prevent, so easy, but it could also have resulted into a fatality.
Can you see this? Is it showing?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So let us know when something goes wrong.
Something's already wrong right now.
The wing came up.
Yep. As soon as I checked that wing, it locked my left brake lines, and you can see I am going right over those hangers. There's power lines just behind those trees that I'm watching. So I'm trying to get over to the right. I go right over a flagpole, and I do eventually get control of it. At this point, it was just fly the aircraft. But I was really scared of pulling that right because I didn't want to spin or stall the wing. I was so early in my career, I didn't really know how far you could pull this wing, or push this wing. So once I got it onto a heading where it was just gonna bring me out into a field, you can actually see me looking up. I'm looking forward, making sure I'm climbing. and then I'll deal with the problem on the left, and you'll see it's wrapped about 3 or 4 times. Again, clear the pulley, man. It could have been prevented.
Yeah, and I've done that very same thing. That's kind of spooky, but you're right. I mean, fly the aircraft. That's all that's what your main function is, anyways, right? So,
Yep.
So what was your mindset when this was going on? Did you kind of panic a little, or were you calm, cool, and collected? Had it happened before?
No, this was the first time that I ever had wrapped a brake line so harsh. To give you a little back history to this wing was the original Dudek. Yeah, there's my radio calls. I'm actually calling back to the hangar, telling them, hey, I didn't mean to do that on purpose. At any rate, so this wing was new to me. It's also a very old wing. We'd come to find out it was really out of trim. This is the same wing that I would put down into the cornfield. Basically, what it came down to is I didn't pre-flight. And what's even weirder about this whole thing is when I kited the wing prior to this flight, it kept on coming up to the left, and I couldn't figure it out. I was checking all my lines. I just didn't see it. I didn't investigate enough. And when I pulled those brakes off, I didn't clear the pulley, which is, now I do that. So again, it could have been prevented. Now, as far as for when that thing left the ground and all of a sudden it shoved me to the left, my first thought was, okay, I've got a side wind going on. And I tried to pull a little bit of right brake and tried, release up on my left, and that wasn't working. And at that point, it's like, well, if I shut this down now, I'm going to slam into the side of the hangar. If I go full power, it's looking like I'm going to clear it, which I did by about 15, 20 feet. What I didn't know is that there was power lines beyond the trees that were a lot taller that I was going to slam into. So that's when I started panicking, going, okay, how far can I push this wing before I start spinning it or stalling it or fall out of the air?
Hey, so Angela has made the name of the show for tonight, and I wish I would have realized this. She calls it the Paramotor Hangout After Dark version, which is perfect.
Then let me trade this soda in for a cup of coffee with some whiskey, and we can do that.
So I got a question for you about that particular instance. So would that be something, a wrapped brake line, for example, everything turned out fine, wasn't any incident, there was no accident, would that still be worthy of reporting that on the USPPA's incident website?
Yeah, absolutely. It was definitely an incident. You could definitely self-report that. And, again, it's the USPPA does this, and our whole function is for awareness, and, hey, this is what happened, watch for those things, or this is what happened, this is how you can avoid it. Very simply, I could have checked to clear the pulley. Brake lines, clear the pulley. I think Shane just read.
Camera fell.
But
You okay, Shane?
But
it's my Obama camera. It doesn't work all the time.
So yeah,
really, you could absolutely report it.
It would be to help other pilots, and I'm sure that the USPPA would keep track of like what are some trends in as far as incidents are concerned, and what kind of things are popping up that pilots are failing to do.
Interesting enough, they do, and it's within their syllabus. So the USPPA and the ASC as well have syllabuses, and all these little things, that pop up and things that we should be doing anyway, become part of that syllabus. So one of the things that you learn when you take lessons, whether it's USPPA certified instructors, actually I don't even know if certified would be the proper word, but USPPA instructors, ASC, or outside, several really good instructors that don't have any affiliation at all. What's one thing they teach? Clear the pulley. Are your brake lines clear the pulley? Yeah. So that that obviously made it in at some point, because that's something that can hurt you, something that can kill you.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, my face plant at the end of that intro video, I should have reported that. don't trip over your line. Did you see it, Dave?
Hey, Will,
Yeah.
who is that guy?
Ah, he's nobody.
Ooh.
It looks like a.
The guy in the top left? I don't know, man. He just wow.
When the pre-show, I saw him holding a sign saying, "We'll do show for money." I didn't say anything.
Yeah,
Oh.
top left.
Oh,
It's funny.
Hey, Tony was asking if on that takeoff if he had A assist.
no,
They kept that
negative.
from happening?
Actually, I've used A assist once, and I absolutely hate it. And it would not have prevented. At least I don't think it would have prevented that incident, because it wasn't the A lines, it was the brake line that was wrapped up 3 or 4 times. So when that wing came up and I checked it, that locked that left down and didn't come back up.
All right, do we have another video that we want to get to?
Yes, we do, and I hope it's okay because everything was perfect until we started the show, and then I started not being able to find stuff. But we'll see how this goes. Let's see. There we go. Share. All right. Can you see that?
Yep, I know this
Yep.
is what. All right, so before you start this video, this is basically the same wing that you just saw. And this was a late day, probably earlier than what we should have been flying. We're going to do a cross country, and this was a hurry up and get off the ground moment. And this is exactly what I talked about earlier, and what we're going to talk about a little more in the show of punch it and go. This is the result, and everybody's seen this at fly-ins.
Yeah, and I think we've all experienced it too at one time or the other. So.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and you can actually, as you watch the video, you can see me putting in the wrong moves every time, and just made it worse. I had two opportunities during this that I could have shut it down.
And you see a lot of pilots, they will not let off the throttle. They get the wing up or out of control and they just go for it.
Yep.
That's exactly what happened. That wing was up on my right side. I was accelerating. I took off, and what do? We're a pendulum, so we pendulum to the other side. And every time that wing comes right, you see that right hand drop.
Uh-oh. I hope you didn't say nothing, because the corn has ears. They can hear you.
I'll tell you, one of my scariest movies that I watch is Signs. I hate cornfields. I hate them.
Dave, I've got to give you an A+ on facial expression. I mean, you got to be a good poker player, man. You cannot tell that anything is about to happen looking at your face. Like, it's a normal day. Here we go. And
I knew I was going in, and I was just concentrating on, okay, if I can control how I'm going to land, how do I want to do this? And what I did is, you see me start touching the corn, I'm starting to stall out. And then, of course, it pulls me over. You actually see my left drop and then my right. And by that time, I knew I was going in.
So there wasn't a whole lot of forward motion, was there, after you hit the ground? I mean, you were pretty slow at that point, weren't you?
Yeah, when I hit that corn, I was probably doing 15, 17 miles an hour. When I hit the ground, I was upside down. I actually stayed silent for about a minute, because I was kind of just sitting there going, okay, I can wiggle my toes. I can wiggle my fingers. I don't have any pain. Okay, I'm good. My front landing gear is missing. And meanwhile, everybody outside the corn, I went in probably around 50, 70 yards into the corn. And if you've ever tried getting a trike out of corn, oh my God. So everybody's screaming at this point, seeing if I was alive. And I was like, yeah, hey guys, I'm fine. And actually they had to pull the trike off me. But that right there, guys, is what we're going to talk about after we get done with a couple of my incidents of that whole just let's power up and go. Let the wing do what the wing's going to do, and we'll deal with the consequences when you get into the ground. I hit 6 foot tall corn. Yeah, it's not exactly soft, but I mean, I've seen people pile drive the ground And it's just something that can be prevented. There's another video I know you guys don't have, but I was flying over at Kyle's. We had landed right in front of the taco place, and I pulled that wing up facing the road, turned it 90 degrees to my left, and took off. You can taxi foot launch. You can taxi with wheels. You can do 360s. And a lot of people just don't do it, and I don't get it. I don't understand.
You're right. I don't think they don't consider it taxiing. You know, it's a launch is a launch, and it's like straight ahead, and boom, you go. So yeah, I'm
Yeah.
guilty of that. I mean, I pick a place without
We
the horizon and go.
we had an incident that was a fatality, and as I remember the details, basically they took off. They were slow, deep into the brakes, big engine. They twisted and hit the ground and died.
Ooh,
And a lot of people know where that happened. Um, and it's a symptom of let's just get off the ground as fast as we can. Let's pull deep brakes. Let's not wing. Let's not let the wing fly. Let's not get control of that wing before we get off the ground. One of the things I remember is let's pull the wing up and let's go. Flying's optional. Let's just get the wing up above us. And once we got the wing above us, we can assess what's going on.
Did we lose him?
I think we might have lost him. Either that, or he's thinking.
He's
Am I back?
yeah, you're
There
back.
you are. We lost you. You're back now.
Your last frame was this.
Yeah.
All right. Enough of me. Let's get into this. People came for Carnage.
Okay.
Yes.
Let's see. So we will share that one, and so we've seen that and saw that. Moving on, and a little further.
So the reason why I thought it was important to bring these two up is these are two incidents that were absolutely, positively preventable. A little bit of pre-flight would have prevented the first one, and a little bit of patience and hey, let's not hurry up and get in the air would have prevented the other. Oh, this one, I do remember this one. I was working the runway duty. I was a runway boss.
So you did the official report on this. What was your official outcome on this?
All right. So to kind of take it blow by blow with this is that we don't truly know if this was a planned wing bump or not. If it was planned, the pilot, the way that I did the report was pilot A and pilot B. So we're going to go ahead and stop it right there. We're going to go ahead and call pilot A the one that's filming. We're going to call pilot B the one that we see with the green and blue white wing. So basically what happened, what happened is both pilots are flying side by side, and it looks to me that pilot B, the one in the green and blue wing, turned just a little bit into the left towards the camera and then immediately backed out. Not sure if that was wind conditions or maybe a thermal. This was about 5:30 in the evening. I believe this was going to end up being on the 17th, which I think Friday or Saturday, I don't know. At any rate, he turns a little bit to the left and then he turns back out. Pilot A, who's filming, is attempting a wing bump, and there's two things going on here. One, his wing is a lot faster than the other wing, and two, you'll notice that he pulls just a little bit of right tip steer, and he also weight shifts to the right, which is what brings him closer to the other pilot. At the same time, he's also flying faster. As soon as he, just before impact, watch his right hand, you'll see his hand come off the throttle, which is what causes the collision with pilot, the pilot behind.
Yeah.
So this, the way that I basically wrote this up was it was not a controlled maneuver. It was pushing it. It was, just out of control. And then to let off the throttle is what caused the actual collision.
Was there a question asked to pilot that was videotaping it, pilot A, why he let off the throttle?
I didn't at that point because I didn't see this video. So basically, I was working. I was one of two people working the runway boss when this happened. I didn't physically see the collision. My back was turned, and my other guy that I was working with said, "Hey, two pilots just collided. There was a midair." I said, "Where?" "Into the runway." I ended up hopping on my scooter. Found out my scooter could do 47 miles an hour that day. And I went down to the scene. When I arrived, I was actually expecting broken bodies because I had heard that there was a midair collision and they crashed. Those were the two things that I heard. So when I got there, I was expecting to see some broken bodies, and both pilots were up. And I asked, the filming pilot, "Hey, where's the crash?" And he said, "Oh, we're the ones. Us." And I'm like, "Okay, are you okay?" "Yes." I went over to the other one, to Cole, and asked him if he was okay. "Yeah, he's okay." "Okay, great." I checked them both over for any blood or anything else like that, and had a couple words with the filming pilot. And then I left because I was trying to intercept the ambulance and the fire truck that was incoming. Intercepted them, and then that was pretty much the end of it. About an hour, 2 hours later, I got with Noah, who's the president of the USPPA, and said, "Hey, I really want to go down and have a conversation with a filming pilot. There are a couple concerns that I have. Would you, come with me?" And he said, "Yeah, absolutely." So we went down there, and Cole and the filming pilot, hell, Nick, I mean, everybody knows, were sitting in a seat, and they were talking. So I approached Nick and said, "Hey, I need to, ask you some questions." Oh, the other thing too is that before I left the actual crash scene, I looked at Nick and said, "I need to see the video of this." And he said, "Okay, great. I'm going to go ahead and edit it and get it to you." I said, "No, I want to see the unedited video of this." And that was it. So I was down there with Noah, asked him a few questions, and didn't even realize that Cole was sitting right there with him. And talked to Nick for probably about 45 seconds to a minute before I realized that that was Cole. And got a few things cleared up, and then I left. And then after that, I saw a famous YouTuber release this and a couple other videos of things that were going on. And at that point, I was going to release a report and said, "You know what? No, I'm going to wait because I want to find out, I want to hear from more people. I want to analyze a little more. There's some things personally that I know, and I want to put everything together because I want to make sure it's, a fair shake. I'm not here. None of us are here to throw anybody under the bus at all.
No.
But we need to figure out what happened." So it came out that the reason why the motor was running the whole way down is because of a broken kill switch. I had some information. You can read my report about that with prior stuff. Found out the wing damage that was done. Quite honestly, I mean, in this case, it doesn't matter who it was. With a running motor, that motor could have chopped up the A-lines and totally folded that wing. Could have cut it enough to drop that pilot out of the air. Or even worse, had Cole's wing gained lift, it could have put Cole right into a spinning prop and made body contact with the face, shoulders, neck, all the blood,
Yeah.
So I had a real issue with that. Again, I don't care who it is. Um, I wanted to find out why, and I did, and wrote my report, and that was the end of it. So what can we learn from this? Well, we know that one pilot had 3 or 4 flights. The two questions I had for Cole were, A, why did you turn into the left and then turn back? He answered that, and it made sense. And then I said, why did you fly? Pilot 3, 4 flights, flying at a major flying. If anybody's ever been to flying circus, circus is used for a reason. It is a circus. both in the air. You've got general airplanes coming down that runway. You've got paramotors and a bunch of other stuff that we do out there, which is basically a Burning Man meet paramotor. I mean, it's a fun time, but not the place you probably really want to fly, unless you got some time under your belt. So I asked him a few questions, and then I asked Nick a few questions as well. Why didn't you match speed? Why did you not shut your motor off? Why, and got a few answers there. Was satisfied with that. Did the report, and that was it. What can we learn about this? Don't tip bump a brand new pilot. Don't really tip bump. I mean, it's fun. We all do it. I'm guilty of it. Everybody raise their hand that's ever done a tip bump and thinks it's fun. Is it? Yeah, it's a lot of fun.
I have never been the tip toucher. I've always been the
receiver.
The receiver of the tip touch.
The catcher.
You're the catcher.
Hey Shane.
Tell me. No, I'm not doing it. You're not taking my joke from me. You're not doing
it. So, there's a couple lessons that can learn here. Controls a lot of it. And, look, tip touches are fun. I've done them. I tend to stay away from them now because I fly a big old trike that could knock a free flight or a foot launch pilot out of the air real quick. So I tend to try to stay away from them unless I really know the person. Shane's at bottom.
He knows you, man.
That's the first thing that we can learn from it. Just don't do it. Second thing we can learn is it's all about control of the wing. I mean, there was absolutely a passing of one pilot, and then on top of that, to double down, we let off the throttle. Well, if you're turning into a pilot and passing them and let off the throttle, you're not giving this pilot any where to go. So the last question I asked both of them was, okay, Cole, why didn't you immediately turn to the right? He answered that, and it made sense. And I asked Nick the same thing. Why didn't you immediately abort and turn to the left? And he answered that, and it made sense. And that was it.
So, in your investigation proved which pilot was at fault.
Yes.
Or if that's not correct, or correct way to answer that.
No, this is where I kind of have a problem because, again, as a investigator and the USPPA and stuff like that, I mean, we're not there's no teeth behind it. We can't do like what the FAA does and say, okay, this was pilot error and this is what should happen. And also with what this should happen because there might be something, a year ago, 2 years ago, whatever, 6 months ago, that also happened, and maybe there's some things that need to happen. We can't do that. I can give my opinion. Which I'm not going to do on air. I can talk about it, which I can do on air.
Okay. No,
I guess there just needs to be a little bit of thinking.
Right. No, and I'm trying not to ask your opinion because we've already talked about this. I understand what you can and can't do. I didn't word that correctly, maybe. If you can see my two friends here, this is how smart I am. Look at them. Look.
First of all, you're presuming that we're friends.
See, this is what I'm talking about.
That's a pretty big leap.
Yeah, I know, right?
All right, I got a couple questions.
Shane, I got something for you. Hold on, I got something for you.
Whoa.
Here, buddy. Use it. Just use it.
Yeah, just fall on it. All right, Mr. Mark McElroy, what question?
We got a spinning wheel tonight too. Go ahead, Mark.
Your opinion on I don't know if the instructor that signed off Pilot B, is he a USPPA instructor? And if so, what about somebody leaving training with 2 or 3 flights?
So I don't know if the instructor is a USPPA certified instructor, and in this case, it really wouldn't matter. So in the USPPA, one of the training methods that we do is we teach, and then we say, okay, this is what we're going to do. And the pilot or the student makes a decision to do something. I, as an instructor, make the decision to do this, and we as a team make the decision to execute. The pilot at any time can say no, the instructor at any time can say no, and it doesn't happen. So it really wouldn't matter in this case if the instructor is, you know, certified with the USPPA or took the training syllabus or whatever. It wouldn't matter. Ultimately, it was a pilot's decision to fly. And in my opinion, 2, 3, 4 flights, man, that's gutsy to get up in the air in that type of airspace. It doesn't matter who else is in the air. It's gutsy at a fly-in with that low time. Maybe didn't have an understanding of how wake turbulence works. Maybe didn't have an understanding how those general airplanes come through. Some of them were burning along at 240 knots down the runway. Doesn't have an understanding that there's a bunch of people trying to get into the air and how choppy that air can be. So, and Cole and I did have a conversation about that.
I left training with 34 flights. Left training, went home, dropped all my stuff off, went up to Swanee for the fly-in in 2019. I didn't take my gear because I didn't feel I was ready. How do you, I mean, Cole's got some big cojones to only have 2 or 3 flights.
He's a jarhead. I'm a squid. I get Marines.
Listen, I don't care what you've done for a living. To take off in that situation with that airspace was, I mean, I'd be nervous right now with over 400 flights.
All righty. And somebody else had asked your opinion on or your feelings towards if you cause somebody else damage, what are your personal feelings on paying for the damage you caused?
Being raised the way that I was raised, with responsibility, one takes responsible action for their action, or responsibility for one's actions. My personal feeling, which I'll talk about in this case, is that if I or a friend or an acquaintance or somebody I didn't know causes damage to somebody's equipment, that they should absolutely, positively, 100% right then and there say, hey, you know what? I will take care of that. And you know, whether that is actually getting the wing repaired or replacing the wing, you know, either way, doesn't matter. I also think that both pilots maybe need to also check their gear before they go fly and make sure everything's in working order.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Just reminding everyone, we have a spinny wheel tonight, maybe even 2. So if you don't say anything, that I don't have any to be on the spinny wheel or when you want on there. So hey,
Can we?
I got to start my computer so I can say something in the chat.
Okay. Can we? Dave, can we show what we're giving away tonight for? Because when you come on this show as a guest, you got to give stuff away. Apparently.
Yeah.
So I was going to get over these bows. I was thinking about giving away a lot of those bows, but unfortunately, guys, shipping is like $125, $150, and I wasn't going to pay it. These guys cheapskated and said, well, we're not going to pay it. And I said, okay, you know what? You don't get a bow. So we're going to go ahead and give away some feast crossbows is what we're going to do. These are marshmallow shooters. They shoot Nerf darts, marshmallows, cat treats, dog treats, M&Ms, peanuts, Skittles. Hey, ladies, if your man really makes you mad, men,
don't say it.
Don't shoot thumbtacks and stick at 10 feet.
And stick.
I thought he was going to say tampons, but
yeah, you could shoot tampons too. Your choice. I mean, you know, whatever you want to do, whatever your kink is.
My goodness.
But anyway, so when I send these,
somebody had asked at the beginning of the show, what kind of scooter were you riding at the flying circus?
I actually just gave a review on that scooter too, just yesterday. Real quick, when I send these, the prod will be off. It's just a little screw that you got to put on and screw back in. So that scooter is called a Gallop, G-A-L-O-P. It's a 5,600 watt front wheel, rear wheel drive, and it's independent, so you can just go on rear wheel, or you can also do rear and front. I ended up taking that on, I think we clocked 40 or 41 miles in the desert at Flying Circus. I went on some desert rides with Nick and Noah, the brothers, and their crew and stuff like that. And that thing held up like a champ. Really decent scooter. The only thing that I wish is that the rear motor is a little weak, because all the weight is sitting on it. I wish, instead of a 2,800 watt motor, that it was like a 4,000 watt motor on the rear of it and a 28 on the front. But I was climbing hills with that thing. We actually had a pilot go down on a hill on Monday, and I rode all the way out and around him and up a hill and then down the other side and then over to him on that thing.
Right. Where's Shane go? Well, okay, so you know what? The thing is we're supposed to be policing ourselves, right, as a community. So
Yeah.
a report like this really goes a long way. If we don't know, like I've read, as a pilot, I've read many reports, and my next flight usually would include a check of the thing that caused a failure of the report that I just read. So I mean,
Yeah.
it's an invaluable service, really. Hopefully, they'll put some of this stuff in their publications too.
So to answer Dave Wolf's question, that was a real flight. He and I were flying. I was flying just off the top of a cornfield because I didn't learn the first 3 times, and all of a sudden the corn in front of me rustles and this buck comes up and I see horns.
Oh
And
man!
I was flying my tandem. I was flying my flash cruiser, and I tried to scoop it up, but I'm not that good. And it went running off. And of course, I pull up and turn and go check it out. It was pretty cool. So I almost hit a deer with my paramotor.
Man, impale yourself on a deer.
Right. And those
That would be a
Ohio
pretty
bucks,
interesting
man,
report.
those Ohio bucks are huge, big bucks.
Hey,
Yeah.
real quick before I forget, and we have everybody's attention right now. June 11th, new fly-in this year. Fly It for Gage, which is my son lost his battle with cancer, and we have started a scholarship fund in his name to give a kid each year, or 2 or 3, depending on how well the fly-ins go, a $500 scholarship to each kid. They have to do a whole essay and show good sportsmanship, show academics, and be a all around good person to get the scholarship. So all the money going for the fly-in, or coming from the fly-in, will go to a scholarship for kids, and that's going to be June 8th through the 11th in Bowling Green, Florida. All right, sorry, go ahead. I had to get that out.
Will brought up a good thing, is taking responsibility and things like that. And let's have a little serious talk here, guys. Grab your cigarettes, grab your coffee or your beverage of choice. This is just my opinion. So take it for what it's worth. And there's two phases to this. The first thing I'm going to say is, we as a community self-police and watch each other, and we all learn together. We enjoy this wonderful thing. I think that Kyle down in Louisiana said it best, and I'm paraphrasing here, but where you can take some metal and some fabric and you have all this personal freedom. And we as a community, we police each other. We enjoy that. We are not watched by the FAA or anything else like that. So here's my question. If we self-police each other on one side, why is it that we don't self-police each other on the other side when something serious happens? Because if we don't start, guys, there's going to be more deaths and serious injuries between now and then that we may have been able to prevent. That's my first thought. My second thought to all this is that, I have heard, back when I used to do a show, back when I used to co-host, with my best friend David, stuff like that, is, oh well, the FAA will never get involved with Part 103. And it doesn't take long to search the internet and see all these incidents and accidents and things like that. Let's face it, crashes sell. Guys, my cornfield crash outperforms any other video I've ever done, bar none. And people want to see carnage. People want to see people crash, and they want to see all this other stuff. Well, that's great. However, how long is it before some housewife or husband or whatever that has some sort of official position says, yeah, hey, George, did you see this incident the other day? Oh, wow, yeah, what is that? Oh, it's called a paramotor. Hey, yeah, no, wow, boy, oh, look, there's 3 more of them. Oh, this one happened, last week. This one happened 2 weeks ago. Yeah, there was a death, last month. How long before that phone gets picked up and all of a sudden the FAA is up in our proverbial you-know-what? And people say, well, that'll never happen. Really? Look how fast drones got the FAA attention. Because one idiot decided to turn around and fly it over at a major airport, and then another idiot did the same thing. And the next thing you know, you can't fly anything over a couple grams without a freaking license. And you don't think that they're not going to turn around and start taking a look at us the more times that we screw up, people get hurt, people get killed? You don't think that's going to happen? Guys, I enjoy this freedom. I love being able to hop on my paramotors and go fly. I think it's great that we are not, subject to the FAA. But we keep this trajectory up, we are going to be subject to that trajectory.
Shane, it sounds like you're flying a hot air balloon, man.
Me?
Yeah, there you go. You're flying it.
I haven't moved. I haven't said a word.
I don't know. So it sounds like a hot air balloon. Anyways, so yeah, that's kind of where we are as far as enforcement or any type of. I mean, James was asking about it says, should USPPA sponsored fly-ins have minimum standards like flight hours or ratings, et cetera, in order to fly? But not that you're saying USPPA.
Beach Blast used to. Beach Blast used to. When Beach Blast was going on, you had to be a PPG 2 minimum in order to fly that event. Or I think the out to that was that PPG 2 or an instructor could vouch for you and you could fly at that event. I've heard a lot, saying, well, if we have flight standards, I talked to a good friend not long ago. I'm not going to name the person, but I talked to a good friend long ago. And he brought up a good point. He said, well, then that means organizers are going to start pulling out and not doing these because they don't have the manpower to do inspections. They don't have the manpower to enforce the rules. Well, I say, then ask for volunteers. And again, we self-police ourselves. Why can't people volunteer to inspect equipment? Why can't we have a standardization when a bunch of us get together and over an innocent, tip touch, something bad can happen? It drives me nuts. I mean, if you guys ever watched me years ago when I went off on Kurt Pfister, I mean, this is something that starts getting me going, is, the whole take off, fly, and get out. How many times do we see people doing power barrel rolls and all this other stuff, mid-field while people are trying to take off and land and stuff like that? And we as organizers, or not we, because I'm not an organizer, but we as pilots can't do anything about that. We can't self-shame somebody. We can't say, hey, no, get out. That's how we're going to end up having the FAA looking at us. I mean, that's what it's going to take. Is somebody's going to do something stupid and cause severe enough damage that the next thing you know, the FAA gets their little finger in there. And guess what, guys? We're going to have regulations and we're going to have licensing at that point.
So Ryan Ride says, blunt answer, what consequences do we have to leverage against people who don't follow the rules? And
so I talked to another friend. about that and said, because all this stuff was going through my mind. I mean, heck, I even brought this to NOAA as well, to a lesser extent. And what can we as a community do? Well, it's pretty simple. I actually discussed this when I took a flight yesterday, which, you know, me and releasing videos, you'll see it next year. But I actually said something to the effect of, why can't we as a community, whether it's a private field where, you know, we get together because landowner A says we can fly out of there. Well, what do you think is going to happen when somebody goes down on that land? Do you think that landowner is going to have the warm fuzzies and let you fly there? No, your field's going to be taken away, and we see it every freaking day. What's going to happen when somebody crashes and gets seriously injured or dies at a fly-in? Well, we all sign waivers. Okay, that's great. So we sign release waivers, but where's the moral responsibility? If you knew there was a problem, or you know there's a potential problem coming, you know, bad equipment that doesn't work, pilot with low airtime, pilot that has an MO of doing things, and you allow them to fly anyway, and somebody dies, well, you're released from the lawsuit, but you're released morally. So why can't we as a community get together and say, hey, no, we're not going to have you here? But if you do that, that's a slippery slope, because if you turn around and say, no, we're not going to let you fly here, whether you're an organizer, a private field, or just individuals saying, no, we're not going to let you do it, there has to be also a way to redeem yourself and say, hey, you know what? I was stupid. I made mistakes. I've done better, and rejoin it again. Guys, this is no different than driving a car down the road. I mean, you don't do stupid things. You don't do bumper touches, do you? You don't, you know, ride somebody's rear end at 60 miles an hour. This is all common sense stuff. You know, these aircraft, and they are aircraft, are no different. They're still subject to, you know, to rules of motion, and reaction. So why can't we do that? You know, I don't want to see regulation. I really don't. But at the same time, I don't want to see people get hurt.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the way I see it is, some people kind of get up in arms when you start talking about the possibility of the FAA regulating this and that. And we can talk about it for years and years and years, but at the end, if we don't take responsibility for our own, then the FAA will. And someone in
And they
Washington,
did it with the drones.
yeah, I mean, so
Did it with the
it's
drones.
really, the only good that can come from us talking about this is to, I don't know, I guess, call people out when they're doing stupid stuff. But
Well, there's a
that
problem
brings,
in that though too.
Yeah, I was just gonna say,
yeah,
you can call somebody out for it, but was it just an incident this time? Is it something I do all the time? Like, what is the right answer? I
Well,
mean,
I
this
think
it's more than
that's what
that.
we,
Let's
go ahead,
say,
Dave.
you know, let's say we're at a fly-in and I see Will Fly pull a barrel roll, you know, 100, 200 feet off the ground. There was a guy that died last year or a year and a half ago. His cross is sitting out in action that did the same thing. He's no longer with us. So let's say Will gets away with it and I see it on the ground and I say, hey, Will, man, don't do that. Number one, nobody cares that you can do a barrel roll. Number two, it was way too low. What's Will going to say? Oh man, hey, wait a minute. No, you can't judge me. And it can turn into a fight. It can turn into an argument. No, what it's going to take, if we're, you know, truly serious about it, it's going to take organizers putting their foot down and saying, okay, you know what? Enough of this take off and hang around the LZ while people are trying to take off and land and all this other crap. Get the hell out. And if you don't do it, you're out of here. Period. It's going to take field, you know, people. You know, we all have fields that we can fly at, but we don't own that field. It's going to take those people that are in charge of that actually talk to the landowners to say, no, you know what? You're not going to do this. You're not going to fly here for, you know, for a month, 2 months, a week, whatever. You know, I mean, you know, again, guys, it may sound like, and I can't see the chat. I'm sure people are sitting there going, oh, Dave, you know, Dave, you're crazy. But, you know, again, guys, that incident at Flying Circus was just one of quite a few. You know, I saw a PPG with a tandem take off, wing sideways, hit the ground, and roll. I saw a trike roll midfield. I saw God knows how many, you know, prop breaks and stuff like that. I saw people taking up and taking off in the head of trees, you know, with trees in front of them, with RVs in front of them, with runway behind them. I mean, we wouldn't allow that behavior in the GA industry, in general aviation. We might have back in the 20s and 30s in the barnstormer days, but they learned something. They learned people die. It's
Hey.
when are we going to do something about it?
All right, so we've got 5 minutes left to the show. Do we want to do the
Sweet.
spinny wheel thing?
Sure.
Yeah, I suppose so, but I'm kind of getting into this a little bit. So I think we put our finger on the weak spot, or the weak link in the chain, and that is the bringing it to the other pilot's attention and getting feelings involved and anger and all that stuff. So maybe if we could come up with a way, some kind of system that kind of takes the human element out of it and is more, I don't know, like a third party, unbiased type. I don't know how it would be done. Okay, I'm just thinking out loud. Like an unbiased observer at a fly-in who knows enough or has been instructed in how to and what to look for, stuff like that. Because at the end of the day, we are a small community, and it can be very uncomfortable to go up to somebody that you know and that you like and say something to them. Especially
absolutely it is.
Yeah, so that's kind of the weak link, isn't it? I mean, if we could solve that problem,
I think a lot of this has to come down to, you get a new pilot and they're bulletproof. There is an old years. I mean, this was 30 years ago. I used to play paintball, and I used to be on a team with a VM-68 Magnum. It had a front little tank and it had a rear tank, and it was a semi-automatic, and it was run of the line with the Titmans of the days and stuff like that. And there was this cartoon, and the first frame was a brand new newbie. And he was in plain clothes, a hodgepodge of gear. The second one was a novice, little better gear, maybe some camo. The third one was an ace, and this person was all camoed out, best gear, et cetera, et cetera. Actually, it was 4 frames, I guess. And the last one was an expert. The expert looked like the newbie. And you get these new pilots that go out and they've discovered the flight. They've discovered the freedom of it. They've discovered they can do wingovers and do all this exciting stuff. And I think it comes down to like being 20 years old. You think you're bulletproof until you're not. And in this sport, it doesn't matter if you're bulletproof or not. You can kill yourself all day long. FAA doesn't care. They don't. I mean, flat out. In the world of paramotoring and 103, they do not care if you kill yourself. Where they care is if you kill somebody else. And that is how we're going to get the FAA involved. And if we don't start telling these people doing these massive maneuvers, midfield when people are trying to get in and out, and we don't hold these people to account for some stupid stuff, how easy is it to inspect your gear? How easy is it? How easy is it to not approach other people unless you have it planned and you know the person? Just a series of things. And you're right. How do we implement it? Do we have a panel of people that take a look at these reported incidents and say, okay, that's their first strike, 3 strikes you're out, 2 strikes you're out, 1 strike you're out? The matter of severity of it, whether you're popular or not. I mean, how do we do it? I don't know. That is the problem. But I think the solution is the people that have the permission to fly at those private fields, and the people, the organizers that organize these events, that bring all these people together, are the key. And I think they're going to have to put their foot down. Will they lose some money because maybe they won't get the $50, $60, $100, $200 for the ticket? Maybe. But what's your conscience?
But then maybe you don't want that type of person at your event anyways, if they're going to get upset because they have to follow the rules. I mean, like what Bert Sheffield said, I mean, it doesn't really matter who you are, you're subject to getting kicked out. Bad Apples had a situation where someone was asked to leave. So, I mean, I don't know. John said that you can somewhat control organized events, but away from events, there's nothing you can do to affect actions and perceptions. But there is an agency that can do it, and so that's what we're up against.
Here's the thing, and John brings up a really good point. And I don't mind if you guys, or I don't know if you guys want to go long on the show. I'm good too, because there's some things to talk about. you know, organized events versus private fields. If I believe if we as an organization of these pilots, ranging from haven't flown yet to instructor level tandem certified, if we collectively say, okay, let's work with these organizers and let's get a handle on this, and we do it on the organized side, that if there are incidents outside of that, there's incidents at private fields and things like that, and the FAA starts coming involved, say, hey, look, we're doing everything we can here, but we have no control over there. I think the FAA would probably listen long enough, for some solutions how to control it at private fields. I mean, look, generally, somebody, and I said it, before, if somebody goes up and takes off out of a private field, whether it's a landowner, their own property, an airport, whatever, and kills themselves, the FAA doesn't care. It's when they hurt somebody else or damage, other people's property that the FAA, could start caring. Those are easy to control, because at that point, if Shane is doing something stupid on, this time that we fly, and then we go back a week later and he does something stupid again, and I say, hey, Shane, dude, you're my friend. I don't want to see you get hurt, and I certainly don't want to get hurt. You need to stop, doing whatever. And he gets upset. I don't have to fly with him. And if I control that field, I don't have to let him fly there. If I don't control the field, I don't have to be there when he's there. Therefore, if he does something stupid and hurts himself or kills himself, to put it bluntly, the FAA doesn't care.
And I don't have to wash my hands or be sanitary when I make you pulled barbecue pork, just so you know.
How do you spell me?
I'm going to get my wife on that tonight, just so you know.
Yeah. So, look, I honestly, and I have not really dove that far into it with Noah, who's a president of the USPPA. Maybe he's watching this, maybe he's not. I don't know. I think that the elected and the volunteers of the USPPA and the ASC and flight schools and organizers need to come together and start pounding out some details, because we're going to be asked questions. It's not a matter of time or a matter of when or if. It's going to be a matter of when. And if we don't have those proper answers in place, if we don't have things on paper saying, hey, we're trying to get a grasp on this, maybe we can come together, Mr. FAA, and work together with this to mitigate, the direction they really want to go with it, if that happens. I mean, I think that's where it starts. I think it starts with organizers. I think it starts with flight schools. I think it starts with pilots. I think that these people that do these barrel rolls and power loops and things like that, I think they're tremendously talented people. But the time and place to do it is not freaking the midfield when people are trying to take off and land. It's just
4,000 feet.
Yeah, 4,000 feet's great. Or you know what? At an event, if it's a called event, hey guys, we're gonna have some acro team. I don't remember the guy's name, but he's the first guy that ever did the power loop. He's a tremendously talented pilot. Tremendous. The guy's flying some like 250, 300 foot-pounds of force or of thrust out of his engine. Did a power loop at Flying Circus, and I saw it, in real time. I was like, oh my God, coolest thing in the world. But
Hey,
I love Mo. The organizer of that event, but I didn't hear any announcement. You had people taking off and landing, and this guy right over all these people taking off and landing, doing this stuff. What's going to happen when he pile drives into something? Well, there's a good possibility he's going to kill somebody, and then we're also going to lose a very talented pilot. Nick and Cole, what happens if that turned out, even worse than it did? We're going to lose 2 people. What happens if I flip my trike because I didn't take my time and learn how to taxi and paralyze myself? I wouldn't be here today. So, I mean, I think we all need to kind of dive in and really stop doing things for ourselves and start considering the other people around us.
And we need to, Mark, do you have any more questions from the chat real quick? I know Mark gets up at like 3 o'clock in the morning, and he's going to probably bail. We can run a little later, that's fine, but Mark gets up really early, so I just want to catch up on any questions.
No, the questions are pretty good.
What are they? You got some?
No,
How about Angela's question?
How about it?
Yeah, I was going to say Angela
it's on the
did.
screen.
Angela says, again, couldn't this incident have happened with two experienced pilots, one not knowing about the surprise maneuver? Absolutely, it could have. Absolutely. I mean, look, we're in a three-dimensional space. We're in a three-dimensional space in which we have wind. We're in a three-dimensional space which has thermals. The sun's shining, you've got thermals. I mean, this could have very easily have happened to two experienced pilots. This could have happened to me. I mean, it can happen to any of us. It can absolutely happen to any of us.
You see Dave's question there?
Let's see, which is more detrimental to your house? Doing low acro or smoking cigarettes? Please tell him Addison and Julia both say hi and they miss him. Aw, I love you girls. You guys are awesome. Love your faces. Yeah. Well,
Spin
if
the
I die, I'm
wheel.
going to die on my own terms.
Yes.
Yes, let's spin it. Let's do it.
Let's do a wheel spinner.
All right, man. Let's do it. Let's do it. All right, here we go. Shuffle, shuffle, shuffle. All right, you ready?
Yep.
Here we go. Who's it going to be? I'm going to go with
It
Keith.
should be me. My name's on the list, right?
Is it?
I don't know.
I don't see my name on the list. This is.
Put your name on the list. You're on the panel, dude.
Oh, this is ridiculous.
This isn't Thursday night.
Oh, you almost got Keith.
Yeah. Oh no, the wheels grease pretty well.
What is that?
Somebody greased that wheel. Damn.
Yeah, man. I think it's going to be slow days.
Slow days. Oh my goodness.
It is. All right, let's do this. Since I am traveling, slow days, you got one of two choices. You can either give Shane or Will your address. They'll pass it to me, and I'll mail it out of Arizona where I am. Or if you're going to be at Bad Apples, I will be there, and we can do it there too. So your choice.
Or you can give it to me at Bad Apples, and I can deliver it to him the next time I fly with him at Dawn's.
Three choices.
There you go.
There you go.
Yeah. Ryan says I need to mount a wheel on the side of my new van so I can use it at fly-ins. That's kind of a good idea.
That would be kind of cool.
So, do we want to spin again, or do we want to talk a little more and then spin again?
Let's talk a little bit more and then do another spinny spin.
All right. Yeah, because we've got a second
What?
one.
Hold on.
What?
Slow Days is saying he's still waiting on his T-shirt from Shane.
Oh, Shane.
Sean, you mean.
Is it Sean or Shane? Because that's
must
two
be
different
Sean.
people.
Yeah, you don't have any T-shirts, do you?
Not that I'm aware of, but I have a PAP extra large if somebody wants it. I don't.
I'll check my closet. We'll see what I can find.
I mean, I have a wheel
Listen,
slide that's been sweat to death in, but
I think he needs to claim it Shane, and then we as a community need to come together at Bad Apples and make
And ban
Shane
me.
get down into his shorts, pour cold water on him, and then feather him.
Yeah,
I've got
set
the
an
feathers.
example. Yeah.
great. Now we got a fat chicken on the field.
Hey, I got an idea. As far as helping, promote things or putting some kind of something together. What if it was part of the instruction for new pilots? What it is, or what a good or what a safe fly-in looks like, or what are the elements of a safe fly-in? Because I couldn't tell you what the elements of a safe fly-in was on my first fly-in. I didn't know anything about a pre-flight briefing. Don't turn around in the pad. I didn't know any of that stuff.
Well,
So
the USPPA actually does cover not exactly that, but they teach safe, sound decision making within your flying. And for instance, we all remember, a couple of years ago that the number one way to die in paramotoring was drowning, correct? It's
Mm-hmm.
no longer so. The number one way to die in paramotoring is low. We're taught how to fly safe. The problem is, and the dynamic within flying is that your first year of flight is reasonably safe. Where you're going to take an injury is usually after your second year going into your third, because you get complacent. Oh, been here, done this. Takeoff is seamless, landings are seamless. Hey, let's explore those brakes just a little bit more. And next thing you know, you're in over your head, and bad things happen. Or actually, the other conundrum to that is you become so good. I mean, I could name a handful of pilots that are absolutely phenomenal pilots, and they become so good at what they do, except for two things. They don't stop and think about the other pilots around them as they're blasting through the sky. They also don't think wind is unknown. You can't see the air currents. You turn around and do a low barrel roll or a low tip touch into the ground, a tip skid or whatever they're called, and you get some bad air. Next thing you know, you just pile drived in. You can't see it. So they become so complacent with it because they've done it so many times. They don't stop and think about other people. They don't stop and think about, hey, there could be something I don't see that could take me out of the air. So do I really need to do this on the ground? Do I need to do it at 200 feet or 100 feet or whatever? Actually, that's a pretty good
There you
question right there.
There is a test question. Brooke says there's a test question asking where to land at a fly-in behind the launching pilots.
So I don't believe I recall a test question covering that. However, you would think that when you're at a fly-in, the proper place to take off is at the head of the row. The proper place to land is at the end of the row. And if you can't spot land and hit a 50-foot circle, you need some practice. I mean, come on. It drives me nuts, guys. Fly-ins, I mean, even when we're flying personally and there's, more than 6, 7, 8 pilots, you always get that one that goes long and lands in front of everybody. Here's my favorite one. And actually, this is a true story, okay? I was at Flying Circus and I was setting my trike up. And there was a foot launch pilot that set up right in front of me. Probably 100 foot in front of me. Now, I could pull the wing up and taxi around him and take off. He set up in front of me. I was still setting my wing up and stuff like that. I get my wing all spread out, hooked in, everything ready to go. I'm starting to get into my trike, and I was like, hey, you think you can move? And he said something and shook his head and put his motor on and took off, failed to launch. Set it back down and did it again. And I said, I'm getting ready to take off. And he said something, shook his head, and said, fine, I'm just going to run you over. Powered up. And as I was starting to power up, he was shifting his stuff out of the way. Now, what I did is I ended up pulling my wing up, turning about 45 degrees to my left, getting on the runway, and then taxiing down the runway and taking off. But, I mean, guys, there's etiquette. Land at the back of the row. And if you can't spot land, get up to 400 foot, go to idle, and put a bag down on the ground and start getting within, 30, 40, 50 feet of the bag. The P3 for free flight is, I believe, 15 feet. You have to hit it. Why don't we have those standards in PPG? Free flight we do, P1, P2, P3, P4. Why don't we have those landing standards? Why don't we have those takeoff standards? Why don't we have that sense? They do it, and they also have an organization that will issue numbers. And I believe if you screw up too many times, they won't issue a number, and you're not going to be able to fly at that site. Why don't we have organized sites that have numbers that if you're not a PPG 2, you can't fly at this site, or PPG 3? Why don't we have that type of stuff? Guys, again, I'm not all about regulation. It may sound like I am, but these are just questions that are going off my head. If one organization can do it, why can't we? We enjoy that freedom. We enjoy self-policing each other. Well, again, if we enjoy self-policing each other, why can't we police ourselves on the other side before something bad happens? How much is your conscience worth?
I will tell you right now, when I first started flying and landing, it was landing in the area code.
Yeah.
Now I'm with.
Now you're down to a zip code?
Yeah, now I'm down to a zip code. I am freaking horrible. I have set bags out. I have spent many mornings and afternoons literally spot landing. Sometimes I nail it. Sometimes I'm like, where the hell am I going? The bag's a mile back that way. Like what? It. I can
Just
fly just fine.
yesterday, just yesterday, I did 3 power ups to 400 foot, went back to idle to spot land. I do it a lot, and actually, it was free flight that really taught me how to spot land, which really helped me within motor. It's the same thing, just probably a little less glide. I don't know. But you really ought to know it because I mean, Shane, look, you're flying along on a cross country and your motor goes out, and you look down and you see a baseball diamond, you see a football field, you see a main road, and you've got to put down. Better be able to hit a 15-foot circle.
Now, here's the best part. I am famous for cross countries and deciding I have to pee and land to go to the bathroom and then take off again.
Why don't you have a dude? We use them in free flight, the pee condoms or even a catheter.
It's and I'm not by no means don't take this as conceited. I have no problems landing out, going to the bathroom, and launching again.
It's that small, huh?
No, it doesn't matter to me how big or small it is. I have no problem doing it. Now, my wife's don't ask my wife, but that's a long story. Um, I mean, her story's long. I'm just saying. Anyways, I can land within a reasonable area, but to put a bag out and land on that bag, I cannot do it.
Dave just said it, and I've seen him do this. When I go out to Ohio and we fly, or we do it at fly-ins. He's famous for going up and shutting his motor off and practicing spot landings. And he was just saying he went up to 1,500. I do the same thing. I'll go up to 2,000, 3,000, 5,000, shut the motor off and just glide around, take the headphones off, and listen to the air. Of course, I do it in free flight, all the time too, because a lot of the free flights just put the motor on with a free flight wing and motor up to 1,000, shut it off, and catch up a thermal. But everybody, and they do it in the instruction classes of shutting that motor off and reasonably landing within the field, and then instruct people. Look, this is something that you really do need to practice. And it's an ever evolving and ever changing thing. I mean, wind currents, one moment to the next can bring you down, take you up faster. So it's really a learned skill of how to line that up. And it's very simple. If you've got an object out there and it's rising above you, you're going to fall short of it. If it's sinking below you, you're going to go over it. And your flare is worth about 50 to 100 feet. You got to remember that too. And if you can put all those together and just watch your knees on the way down, you're going to see that object rising or falling or staying the same. And then just plan about 50 foot short of your target because of your flare. And you'll hit it every time.
So I went up to the first time I went to my mile high, which I think was at Swanee. Was it Swanee or was it at Bad Apples? I think it was at Swanee. I shut my motor off after I got up to a mile, took my earmuffs off, and enjoyed the ride. I hit 2,000 feet and tried to start my motor and nothing. So I came in from a mile high, back at the fly-in, and landed. And I purposely did the whole pizza cutter thing going back and forth because the wind was coming from the campers. So I had to fly towards the campers, and the last thing I wanted was to go long because there was no power. So I made sure I came up short, which was half the distance I really wanted to get close to the campers, but I didn't run into the camper. Didn't look like Wile E. Coyote on the side of the camper.
It's funny. You actually bring up a good point. You said, land near the campers. And I see this a lot with pilots is, I'm going to land right next to my truck. I'm guilty of it as well. I'm going to land next to my camper. I'm going to land next to, there. I'm going to taxi halfway down the runway and set my wing down on my, one of my best friends. Jerk. Yeah, he's watching. So don't get into that mindset. Learn to hit that bag. And if you do that, then you can start, picking where you're going to land. Because what's going to happen if you hit a thermal at 100 feet trying to land near your camper and you get popped up. What's going to happen?
You're gonna go up, or you're gonna end up long.
You're going to end up very long, and you could also end up in a camper, and you also could end up hitting wake turbulence from that thermal off those campers and wind up someplace you don't want to be. I mean,
Real quick.
again, guys.
Yeah,
Hold on real quick. A friend of mine, Uncle Steve Shake, he does his, he has his own seasoning line. And if you guys are interested, this guy started in his kitchen making seasonings, now has a warehouse and a whole factory. You can find him at UncleSteveShake.com, I do believe is his website. All the stuff that I cook food for at fly-ins is his seasonings, just so you know.
That's good stuff.
Nice. Actually, I'll get his information because we do a lot of smoking and then freeze drying. So some seasoning would be real good because we go through a lot of it.
Yeah, he's got a Texas rub called the Texas Red, I believe it is. It's got a little kick to it. Love it. Absolutely love it. And then he's got one called Thick Meat, is my favorite for beef, just so you know.
Excellent. Well, being from Northeast Texas, that's where I live. I'll have to try that one out too. But what I was going to say real quick was, look, I'm guilty of it as well. Yesterday, I landed right next to Mo in his training class. I've landed next to my truck. I've taxied across the field, turning around people and stuff like that. I mean, I just do it. However, that being said, bad things can happen. We need to treat these more like Cessna 172s, and we need to treat them like paramotors because they are aircraft. They're subject to the rules and the laws of aerodynamics and everything else, and things that we can't see. And I think if we do that, and we start paying attention to other people as well, that there are other people in the area. Maybe we shouldn't be doing this type of stuff near people. Maybe we should get out and away and go do that stuff. You know, if we take some time, guys, foot launch, you can do it. Trikes are famous for it. Pull that wing up, come back on power, get taxi, stable wing. Oh, something in your way? Let's pull a little brake and let's run over to the center of the wing. Let's get around it. Let's go to takeoff. If we take our time and aren't in such a hurry to get off the ground, we'll break less things, which is great for the pocketbook. And again, we won't draw attention to ourselves because, oh, you know what? FAA is never going to get involved with drones, and they did. Same thing's going to happen. Yep.
One other thing I wanted to say about about fly-ins and rules and things like that. I think that if you were to ask, 99% of paramotor pilots would say they would much rather go to a fly-in that has well-established, clear rules than, something like flying circus. Now, nothing against flying circus. It's on my bucket list, and I'm going to go because that's kind of a different.
It's an excellent event.
Yeah, absolutely.
And a matter of fact, next year, if you go, when those 2,000 Christmas trees get lit on fire next year, I'm the one lighting them on fire with a fire arrow. It's already been.
You got to do it from the center, though. Did they tell you that?
It's actually I'm an arc shot.
In there.
I'm
going up in there.
No.
Okay, so case in point, the Bad Apples. It's a very well established fly-in. It's got real well. Dave did a really good video on these rules. This is where you park. This is the way you do. So I mean, I don't think people are adverse to, rules. I mean, they're not ridiculous rules. They're just common sense things. So this is
when you have a pilot that has flown for 7 years, holds a P3 free flight, has done SIV, flies foot launch, flies trike, is an instructor level tandem certified, both with the ASC and the USPPA, that actually only flew 3 times and picked those times very carefully because there was just too much crap going on, you might have a problem. And, if fly-ins, now I haven't been to Bad Apples. I've heard a lot of good things about it, and I'm going this year. I have heard that they have air bosses that, are landing and taking off, people. I've heard that. I don't know if it's true. I've heard that it's very well organized. look, if you get some common sense people out there directing traffic on takeoff and landing that don't have attitudes or mini me complex, that's a great thing. I'll listen to somebody. I'll look at a red flag, sitting there waiting. Okay, red flag, green flag. Here we go. And as I'm coming in on an approach, a known approach that we're supposed to be coming in, separated by a minute, and I'm watching an air marshal with red and green flags to land us. I'm all for it. I think that would be great. I think that would be absolutely great. I think if organizers said, hey, you've got to have a minimum of a PPG 2 or the ASC equivalent in order to fly this event, well, that's going to tell me that they know how to fly. They have flights under their belt. They know how to take off. They know how to land. I think that if you get people that are attempting to take off, that wing comes up sideways and they go to launch anyway, and they're coming up all wonky and hit the ground or don't hit the ground and get away with it, I think they need to be taken aside that evening and saying, hey, why didn't you just shut it down and reset? Again, you're doing this at events, you're doing this in front of other pilots and putting them in danger. You're doing this in front of wives and husbands that don't fly, that probably already don't have warm fuzzies of their significant other flying. You're doing this in front of kids. Do you really want to be the idiot that pile drives in front of midfield, your face bloody and arm broken, and there's some 5-year-olds looking at you? You really want that memory? I mean,
I completely agree. This is something that do we know what this is? Swanee Parafest 2019. This is. Oh yeah.
That's a wrap.
Yeah. So was that you, Dave?
Yeah, that was me. So I was sitting there having my coffee and a cigarette, and Dave Wolf landed like hundreds of yards down the field, and I see him coming in, and he sets that wing on me, and you'll see my hand drop, and I'm trying to cover the cigarette so I don't burn his wing, and I just sat there because I knew what was going on. Like jerk.
Here, I saved you your coffee. I got you a coffee, sir.
That's funny.
No, it's Dave and I do that type of stuff with each other. Look, even Dave ain't perfect. Gorilla ain't perfect. I don't know if Nicole Phoenix flies anymore. I don't know. Rittman. I mean, all these people that I'm very, very close with, that I have high respect for, that I fly with, we all make mistakes. We all do. And we all are learning every day. But guys, I implore you, and it may sound like I'm being the nanny. If we continue this trajectory, we're going to end up feeling the wrath of a governing agency. And I don't want it. I don't. I just don't. I don't want to have to go out and get a license. I don't want to have permission to fly. That's why we get into this. So the best thing I can say is that when you're at a fly-in, get up and get out. Yeah, that's the best thing I can say. Don't do stupid stuff.
Yeah. And so here's a suggestion. What do you think about it? A new pilot has never been to a fly-in, should probably check with maybe his instructor or his local group and ask about that fly-in before they go. And don't go alone. Go with your local group or whatever. And you don't even have, honestly, the flying part. The first fly-in, you remember Vail, Shane?
Yep.
The flying part was fun and everything, but the real fun was hanging out with people and meeting people.
I will give you some advice that I did as a new pilot going to fly-ins. Let's say the half hour before sunrise is your best time to be on the field launching. And I'll tell you why. It's not crowded. There's not very many people up. And if you mess up, it's not a big deal because there's not that many people waiting on you. So when I went, my first few fly-ins that I went to, I was one of the first ones set out my wing and ready to go in the morning because I did not want a bunch of people watching me. I did not want to feel rushed, and I did not want to have to screw up and have a bunch of people watching me screw up. So I I set up like first thing in the morning, and I was one of the first ones every time taken off because I did not want to be in the middle of the rush. If you wait that 45 minutes, 50 minutes after sunrise, you're going to be in a rush. The afternoon, when the winds were right for me, that's when I went, but so did everybody else. But I got the morning pretty much 3, 4, 5 other people were set up, which is nothing compared to major fly-ins that you have 15, 20, 30 people getting ready to launch. 5 people isn't that bad. So think about that if you're a new pilot going to a fly-in. Be first in the air.
I'm going to caveat that I actually lost signal for about half of that, so forgive me if you said it. And I don't think I said this to Cole, so I'll say it now, is that and this is a double-edged sword, if you go to a fly-in and you have to ask somebody to help you launch, or you have to ask somebody, should I launch? You probably shouldn't be launching at that fly-in. However, that said, that does not mean that you shouldn't ask somebody for help. It's more of a personal checklist. You know, we're taught when we fly, we've got our equipment checks, but one of the things that we are supposed to do is we're supposed to do a mental check. Am I mentally fit to fly? Do I have something going on? Am I going through a divorce? You know, and am I going through a bankruptcy, something like that? Well, maybe you shouldn't be flying. It's the same thing with a flying. If you have to ask for help to help you set up, or should I go fly, you probably shouldn't be flying. My instructor, Wayne Mitchell, years and years ago, because I said I was going to go to Flying Circus, he said, you might want to consider not flying there. It's a zoo. I flew anyway, but I also did exactly what you said, is I was one of the first people off the ground. The problem was when I landed, I was landing with a bunch of people. So it did freak me out. But
Dave, I don't know if you remember the very first time we met was at the poker run at Wauchula.
Yeah, I remember that.
I ended up giving you a 5-pound propane tank because apparently you were unprepared. No, 1 pound.
Yeah, no, actually, is that the name for cocaine now? Is propane?
Yeah, that's the other aim.
No, but that was my official first fly-in, if you want to call it a fly-in, a poker run, whatever. And truthfully, I had Smart Car Brian next to me who was like, I'm so nervous. I walked onto that field completely confident that everything was going to work out. And the time that dude launched had me so jacked up in my head that I almost ran into the back of a toy hauler that had the ramp down. And when I
remember hearing about that.
And when I slid on my knees to stop, I stopped right before the ramp, and I looked up. The lady was cooking bacon, looking at me, like she just expected me just to keep on coming. And so I can remember my very first high pressure takeoff was not great. It wasn't great, and
they never will be.
No, you got to remember, as a new pilot, you have to get right with yourself. You have to understand what's going on, and you have to be calm. As hard as it is to say that and to do it, I get it. I allowed somebody in my head who has done it to me 3 or 4 times, and we're not talking that long ago. Into 3 years of flying, I'm like, Brian, shut up. I don't want to hear it. Because he will walk out and he's like, oh my God, I'm so nervous. I never had a nervous bone in my body until you said it. Now it's brought it to my attention. So I
get nervous when I free fly and hook a thermal. It's not the only time I actually get nervous now.
There's a couple things I wanted to read here. Shane's Planet. Shane says he's anti-authority. Anti-authority means like rules don't apply to me. It's one of the 5 hazardous attitudes of flying. He says he commends them and could tell that the atmosphere of Bad Apples was fairly safe. Flying Circus sounds like a badass rave. And it's like 2 different animals there. So you can't really compare those two. I mean, from what I understand.
I've never been to Bad Apples. I've heard about it. I've seen videos of it. But he is not wrong when he says that Flying Circus is like a badass rave. It is. It is a Burning Man meets paramotor meets general aircraft. You don't go to fly. You go for the entertainment. And let me tell you, they had like 3 different bands out there. I mean, freaking good bands. They had food. They have 240-mile or 240 knot passes, twin engine airplanes 5 feet off the runway. They have the paramotoring. The desert's gorgeous. Also, the anti-authority. I take that more as, rules don't apply. No, not necessarily. I don't want to be governed, but at the same time, I also am very like Alaska or Montana, live and let live. I'm not going to do anything that's going to hurt you, and I expect the same in return. That's how
Yeah.
I look at anti-authority.
You live your
I
life.
don't need to be governed. Yeah, live your life.
He also says Bad Apple's air boss had a quick check me out after 2 failed launches. He was just chicken on the throttle, but he was there to just make sure I wasn't on stupid fast gear. So I mean, that's
And
a
there's
good
nothing
thing.
wrong with that.
Nope.
Yeah.
For life of me, look, Flying Circus, every year that they start selling tickets, they ask for volunteers. So they got a shooting range down there. I brought my 50 cal BMG down there. We had a fully automatic twin barrel 50 cal years ago down there. So you have range masters, you have runway bosses, you have cleanup crews, all this stuff that you can volunteer for. And in return, you get a banquet meal for free, or at least I think you do. Yeah, actually, you do. So I don't understand why other fly-ins can't do that. Saying, hey, let's have some volunteers, like air bosses, to check equipment out. Why not? Look, I get it. As a trike pilot, it's more of a pain in the butt for me when I fail a launch because I've got to unbuckle, get out of the trike, go reset my wing, get back in. Foot launch, you've got to unbuckle, set your motor down, get everything set back up, blah blah blah. And so I get it. Why not have people there that can help you? Well, actually, we already do. A lot of people say, hey, can I reset you up and pilot decision of yes or no? Air bosses do the same thing. So I get the whole, well, I've got to get this wing up and get out of here because I'm so tired and I want to get off the ground. I'm hot, and we pull up a bad wing and next thing you know, we start penduluming. Maybe we get away with it. Maybe we don't. We got to get away from that mindset. We've got to self-regulate each other on both sides.
PPG, the other Nick, wants to know if you sell those bows. I know the
I actually
answer to
make and sell those bows. So I am a professional bow builder, both in traditional and primitive archery. I can build compounds from scratch. I build medieval crossbows. I've built 1,200-pound Roman scorpion, ballistas, catapults. Yeah, we do, well, on that wall, the only thing we don't make is the finger gloves, but all that leather gear we make, all the bows we make, wood bows over there, the kids' toys, all that stuff. I do 3 shows a year, and then for the other 7 months out of the year, I am a homesteaded, grow meat and vegetables direct to consumer, and do that.
You got a channel, don't you?
Yeah, I do, but come on, guys, I'm not posting anything. About the only thing I've really been doing lately is I've been doing lives every now and then. I'll grab a cup of coffee in the morning and I'll go live. So yeah, it's up on my YouTube channel. David Ruff, Trike Flyer, is my channel. And I do plan on doing some more bow work up there. Of course, the farming season's coming in. The bees actually just started swarming, I was told the other day. I have 25 beehives out there. I've got many cows, milking cows, pigs, vegetables, chickens, ducks, everything. So I'm going to be doing some more farming stuff, of course, the bow stuff, and then the flying stuff. I've got video on my helmet from September in Ohio, and probably around 10-15 flights worth of video on that helmet that I'm actually going to be downloading and start to do some more flying videos.
Cool, man.
Dave, the announcer at Flying Circus. Shut up, Tony.
It's
There,
just a different animal.
there's some video of it I've actually saw. So I'm going to call him Yellow Wing Guy. If he ever sees this, man, nothing but love for you. So he was on a trike and he was trying to launch his wing. And after about 10 or 15 failed launch attempts, we went out there and said, hey, can we help? Hey, you don't have any air in your front tire. Maybe you ought to fill up your front tire. No, it'll be fine. So he's trying to launch on a flat front tire on a trike. So Mo has this announcing thing that you can hear all over the whole event. And Mo was sitting next to me, and you know me, I've got that whole announcing thing down, radio, stuff like that. So Mo says something, and I said, give me the mic. And I say something, something to the effect of, yeah, and here we have Yellow Wing Guy. I think this is going to be his launch number 42. Now, I haven't seen a failure like that since Boston 43, or I haven't seen a failure like that since Boston 84. Back to you, Mo, and give it back to him. Well, Mo caught on and started doing the same damn thing. So we were like sports announcing this whole damn thing. And I mean, I think we got up to launch 69 and made some rude comments about that. And it got to a point that I was actually really afraid the guy was going to get out of his trike and come over and beat the hell out of me. Apparently, he gave us the finger, and he was laughing too. And yeah, he finally got off the ground. And when he got off the ground, I actually grabbed the mic. I was like, ladies and gentlemen, it looks like he's up in the air. The wing's up. Yep, it's straight. And he's taxiing. Oh, nope, he's going to the right. You might want to get away from the right. You're going to hit that big old thing. No, folks, he went with it. He is off the ground. There he goes. Launch number 70. Guys, give a warm applause. And everybody started, clapping. I mean, oh my God. And there's video of it. There is video of it.
So props to that pilot, because you know how much pressure you added to that guy. Like if that was to happen to me, I'd be like, nope, I'm cinching up my wing and I'm pulling my stuff off the field and gonna just disappear.
Well, in a way, that's kind of what we're trying to do, because he was trying to fly at like 12:30. And if you know anything about desert thermals, they're a lot sharper than the southern thermals. I can take a 600 foot up in the south. I hit a 600 foot here in the desert, and wow. And this pilot's failing these launches in control of the wing, and it wasn't because he had a flat front tire, it's because he wasn't given the proper inputs. So we were trying to kind of get him to stop, but he didn't. He went with it.
All right. So let's do this wheel, or whatever you do, Will, and then we're going to do the wheel thing because it's getting a little late and we're starting to lose a few people here.
All right. Yep. Then they're leaving too early, man, because they're going to do the good stuff now. All right. So this is Flying Circus too, right?
No, this is Salton Sea.
Oh, Salton Sea. Okay. So
yeah, I know that pilot.
I think I do too.
God, he comes down fast, dude.
Well, it looks like that would hurt.
He comes down fast because his wing was planing.
Right, yeah.
This is slow-mo. How high would you say he is off the ground?
I'm going to say probably 200, 250 feet. Maybe 300.
And watch how hard he hits. And even in slow-mo, it hurts. Boom!
Yeah, that's just no joke, dude.
All right, and last one is... Oh, man. This is slow-mo. This is a near miss. I mean, you can't get any closer.
Oh, Jesus.
Wow.
Not wild or what? I don't know what this one is. Oh, yes, I do.
I saw this one. This is Flying Circus as well. Yep.
So what happened here? Obviously, he didn't have enough room.
No, look at his wing.
Oh, yeah.
It came up hard to the left, and he pushed it anyway. He was in a hurry to get off the ground because he had a short runway. So this is what the same direction that I took off in further down the field when that guy got in my way. And what I did is I just went around him and then got onto the runway and took off. Actually, I left ground right where he crashed. Again, you're not getting control of the wing. He could have pulled that wing up, got control of it, turned to the right, gone down the runway, come to power, and taken off. This right here, I don't know the details behind it, but this is clearly not paying attention to your surroundings.
Yeah, that was a pretty big sky there.
And then the one that threw the reserve. I know the guy, and I'll even call him out by name. I mean, I think he's great. This was just some low acro that went bad. And I'll tell you what, actually, the mistake was low acro. but the reflexes behind what he did is what saved him. And he didn't have time to pull that wing in. So the wing comes down and starts to plane, which actually pulls you into the ground. He just didn't have time. But he made all the right moves. He made all the right moves. I mean, absolutely tremendous job. He wasn't doing acro over people. He just was doing some acro too low, and it went bad.
And he walked away from it.
Yeah. I mean, when it comes down to it, something like this, that's just risk versus reward. He didn't do anything wrong.
Right.
You know, he was having fun.
So for those who don't know, when you throw your reserve and your main wing is still inflated, what are you supposed to do, Dave?
Pull your wing in. Otherwise, that happens.
And how do you pull your wing in?
Grab the brake, start bringing the brake in, start grabbing risers, start dragging that in. But mainly the brake. Once you start getting to the end of the brake, the wing will start folding in, and then you can start grabbing lines and start pulling it in, put it into a bundle in front of you, and ride it down.
So Tony's asking,
or you can do what I did in SIV. Well, you can do what I did in SIV, go through the lines and hit the water.
I was getting to that. You just weren't catching on.
Oh, yeah. Well, I had a team there that I got out of the water, and they undid my wing for me. So it was great.
Was there a report on any of those that we just saw?
I don't think so. Look, the first one with the reserve toss, that pilot didn't do anything wrong. Nothing at all. He was out enjoying, having a great time. Something went wrong. He threw his reserve. You know, it came out the way it did. He wasn't doing anything wrong. He could do a report. You know, the lesson there is probably not do acro, you know, that low to the ground. I think the energy got away from him. I don't know. I haven't talked to him. I'm not going to do a report on it. The other one with a near miss, I'm not sure, but I would think that the camera perspective guy probably wasn't watching what was going on. The right-of-way rules clearly weren't followed. So that also leads me to believe that maybe it wasn't so much the camera guy. I don't think they saw each other, because if the camera guy saw the guy coming in from, you know, behind like that, the way they crossed, I would have initiated a left turn and gotten out of there. If the rear guy that the first one crossed saw him coming in, I would have immediately initiated a right-hand turn and tried to get out of there. So I don't think either one of them saw each other until, you know, the very last instant. I don't know. I have no idea.
Yeah,
But
Tony,
that's just not.
that is considered reportable. You can report anything that is a safety related. So that was considered in the aviation world, that would be a near miss. And
Oh,
so
yeah, that would be an excursion.
behind the near miss is kind of what
Yeah.
I still
And
feel
again,
that-
guys,
Yeah.
I want to say this real quick. Again, any of these reports, anything that the investigators do, we have no power. We can't get you in trouble. We can't do anything. And I mean, honestly, I'll end it at this, because there were some rules, obviously. The only reason why I reported what I did when I did is because there has been issues before, and I felt it necessary to go ahead and document it. That's all I'm going to say about it. But nobody gets in trouble. Nobody, you know, gets brownie points taken away, and nobody gains any brownie points for reporting. This is just all so we can go back in time, see what happened, and what can we learn from it. That's the only reason why it's there.
All right, let's do the spinny wheel.
Okay. Here we go. You ready? Who's it going to be?
It's going to be Dave Ruff.
You're not on the wheel, man. If it's Dave Ruff, this is fixed.
Yeah, right. I'm gonna say I got a lot of them sitting around here.
I'll say Shane's Planet Shane. Uh-oh. It's going to be close.
Oh,
It's a squeaker. Oh.
There you go, Angela. All right,
Congratulations.
I know Angela is just to the northwest of me. So Angela, you should have me on Facebook or my number. I know Tony does. Get with me, get me your address, and I will go ahead and get that out this week.
Right on. What a great meeting, man. Or what a great show.
Yeah.
And I just
that's
want
fun.
and Slow Days, I'm going to contact you tomorrow to find out what shirt. If you're for real, I will make that good. I don't know how that got missed. If you're lying.
Hey, if you've got a shirt, you better send me one too, damn it.
I don't know what shirt he's talking about. That's the problem.
Well, neither do I, but if you have a shirt, I want one.
I don't
Man,
have.
you're giving them
I don't.
out.
I have no shirts. That's the thing.
And hey, we really need to talk about this whole green room thing that you have. I asked specifically for M&Ms in my green room for this show tonight, and I didn't have M&Ms.
That's because I couldn't find the ones with the nuts in them.
I think he froze.
Okay.
That one.
Yeah, he's all locked. I done locked up his Wi-Fi. All right, guys. Thank you very much for the great show, Dave Ruff. I greatly appreciate it. Sorry that Dave Wolf was here.
There we are.
Oh, there you're back. So, Dave, I greatly appreciate you coming on. Super great information. I think we could go on for another 2 hours, to be honest with you, but I'm tired. Some of us work for a living. Not like Will.
Yeah, whatever.
I texted him. He called me like 2 o'clock in the afternoon. He's like, "How dare you wake me up from my early from my early sleep?" Dave, just hang on real quick. Go ahead.
I will say that if there's any organizers out there or things like that want to talk further about it, let's start getting together and let's start approaching the ASC and the USPPA, and let's start approaching more and more fly-ins and things like that, and see if there's something we can do. Because at the end of the day, yeah, the waiver keeps you from getting sued, but what keeps your conscience clear? And what keeps us on one side of being able to self-regulate, but not being able to do it on the other side? So.
Right. Hey, Dave, I'm going to hit this outro after I ask Will where we can find him, but just notice the last clip of the outro. You're going to love it if you didn't notice it before. Will, where can we
David's
find you,
been sending
sir?
you stuff, huh?
No, this is actually me busting my face open on takeoff.
Oh.
So, all right, Will, where can we find you?
Dave's like, well, that explains a lot. I understand. You can find me on YouTube. Just search for Will Fly, or go to willflyppg.com. Same thing. Thanks for hanging out with us. And Dave, man, it's been a pleasure.
Yes, absolutely.
And you guys can find me at Never Trust a Skinny Chef Shane, or on TikTok at ppgshane.com. All right, guys. See you next week.
I've got a lot to